Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. My oldest brother died during a mission, leaving behind his pregnant widow. My husband, Jake, worried that no one would take care of her, brought his widowed sister-in-law, Anna, with him to live on the army base and left me, Lisa, alone in the countryside. I was pregnant too. Yet, I still had to take care of Jake's blind mother, his crippled father, his spoiled younger sister, and his mischievous little brother. Every month, Jake wrote me letters full of longing and affection. But he sent all the military allowance to Anna. He even took my dowry money, saying that Anna needed extra nutrition during her pregnancy. Didn't I need nourishment too? When Anna came back to the village to give birth, she moved right into my bridal room and occupied the dowry my mother had spent years saving for me. After she gave birth to a baby boy, I, 2 months pregnant myself, still had to serve her during her recovery. When she got better, she left the baby behind and went back to the army with Jake. Jake told me to take care of his nephew. I was furious and refused, but he said, "We're all one family. You have an obligation to take care of my relatives." Later, his nephew took my daughter's school spot. Jake said, girls didn't need to start school so early. In the end, his nephew went to the military district elementary school, while my daughter had to study in the poor village school. Years passed. I worked myself to the bone until my back bent and my hair turned white. I took care of Jake's parents until they passed away. His brother graduated from college, his sister got married, and his nephew went to university. When I finally went to the base to find Jake, he told me he wanted a divorce. Only then did I realize that he had married me just so someone would stay behind to take care of his parents and younger siblings in the countryside. During the argument, he pushed me down the stairs. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a man in a military uniform standing in front of me, fanning me with a thin wooden board. I recognized him. It was Lucas, Jake's comrade in arms from the neighboring village. He and Jake had joined the army together, and he had even gone to school with me. The scene felt eerily familiar. I turned my head and saw several carts filled with my dowry furniture parked in front of Jake's family's house. "You're awake, Pike," Lucas said softly. I nodded instinctively. His words were exactly the same as before, and in that instant I realized I had been reborn. I had returned to the day before my wedding banquet with Jake, the day I was supposed to deliver the furniture to his family. Jake had gone to Anna's parents' house to pick her up, even though he knew I was coming to deliver the dowry today. Yet, no one from his family had stayed behind to welcome me. It was exactly the same as in my previous life. I had waited in the scorching sun for more than 3 hours, fainted from heat stroke, and became the laughingstock of the entire village. This time, I turned to the uncles and elders who had come with me to deliver the dowry and shouted, "Go back. We're not delivering it today." Lucas froze for a moment, then asked carefully, "You're not waiting for Jake to come back?" "No, let's go. Come to my house for a bit. It's too hot out here." Lucas had just arrived, planning to attend his friend's wedding banquet. He was a decent man. In my previous life, when I went looking for Jake and had nowhere to stay or eat, it was Lucas who helped me. On such a sweltering day, inviting him over for some water and a meal felt only right. Lucas wasn't the kind of person to fuss. He glanced up at the blazing sun and nodded. "Thanks." So the 10 or so of us with 6 carts of furniture turned back under the burning sun, hauling everything my family had prepared for my dowry. Every piece of furniture had been handcrafted by my father. Though we lived in the countryside, my father was a skilled carpenter, and both my parents were hardworking people. With only me and my older brother as their children, our life had been modest but stable. When my father, who was working in the yard, saw the furniture being brought back, he was stunned. A crowd of curious villagers followed behind us. My father, startled, stood up quickly and asked, "What's going on?" "There was no one home at his place," I said. "So I brought the furniture back." "Then open up the side room and put the furniture in there," my father said. "No need to unload the carts. We can send it back when someone from their family returns. Otherwise, you'll just have to lift everything again later. Too much trouble." I walked closer to him and whispered, "Unload it, Dad. I don't want to get married anymore." My father, whose face had been full of pride and joy just moments ago, suddenly froze, confusion flickering across his expression. The truth was, my parents had never agreed to this marriage. They always thought Jake's family carried too heavy a burden, too many children, too many mouths to feed. Jake was the only one who could earn money, and he still had to support his younger brother's education. Both of his parents were in poor health, and if I married into that family, I'd have to take care of them too. But I had been stubborn, blinded by infatuation. I had insisted on marrying him, not realizing I would end up ruining myself and dragging my parents down with me. Jake's father, with his crippled leg, couldn't do any of the farm work. My parents had helped with everything in their fields, and they constantly had to send food or money to support me, which made my sister-in-law Anna resent them deeply. This time, after being reborn, I wouldn't repeat the same mistake. I would watch that family sink into their own mess one step at a time. "Dad, open the door," I said. It took him a while to snap out of it. Seeing so many people around, he didn't question me further and simply opened the side room. Everyone helped carry the furniture inside, working together in silence. My mother came out then, panic flashing across her face when she saw the furniture had been brought back. She quickly pulled me aside. "Lisa, what's going on?" "I don't want to marry Jake anymore, Mom," I said firmly. "I want to call off the engagement." My mother's expression changed several times in a single moment. Disbelief, relief, confusion, then helplessness. The villagers who had followed us were full of curiosity. One of the nosy aunts came forward and asked, "Lisa, why did you bring your dowry back? That's bad luck, you know." I saw no point in hiding it. Sooner or later, everyone would find out anyway. Jake's family knew I was bringing the dowry today. I said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. But not a single person stayed home. I waited at their gate for 3 hours in the scorching sun. I've already done my part. Since they don't respect me, I'm not going to humiliate myself any further. I'm calling off the engagement. As soon as the words left my mouth, gasps rippled through the crowd. None of them could believe it. I understood their reaction. After all, I had once been the one groveling and trying to please Jake's parents. "You silly girl," one of the aunts said. "The wedding banquet's tomorrow. How can you just call it off like that? Didn't you already file the marriage application?" They didn't believe I would really go through with it. But in that moment, it was like I'd finally woken up from a long dream. "Yes," I said. "I'm going to call the army office right now and withdraw the marriage application." Without hesitation, I turned to Lucas. "Excuse me, could you give me the phone number of your army's political office? I want to withdraw my marriage application." Lucas looked stunned by how quickly everything had turned around. "Are you sure you've thought this through?" I nodded hard, determined to show I meant it. Without a moment's doubt, Lucas said, "All right, I'll go with you to make the call." "Thank you," I said sincerely. I didn't want to talk to the nosy aunts anymore. After my mother helped clear everyone away from the door, Lucas borrowed my brother's bicycle and took me to the township post and telegraph office. There was a phone at the village office too, but the man on duty there was one of Jake's relatives. I decided to keep this call a secret for now to keep Jake from interfering. The dirt road was rough and uneven, and the bicycle jolted so hard I nearly fell off several times. "Hold on to my jacket," Lucas said. "We need to hurry." It was noon, and the Army's weekly meeting always started at 2 o'clock on Fridays. If we missed it, I'd have to wait until tomorrow to make the call. But I knew if even one day passed and the paperwork got processed, the application might reach Jake first, and that would spell real trouble. Military marriages are hard to break. I grabbed Lucas's shirt hard as we rode over a deep rut in the road, and I nearly fell again. I immediately clung to Lucas's waist to steady myself. The corner of Lucas's mouth lifted. His thin summer uniform was soaked with sweat, and the hard muscles under his hand left me momentarily flustered. We reached the post and telegraph office quickly. Lucas dialed the commissar's number and I took the receiver. "Hello, Commissar Grant. I'm Lisa Chu, Jake Xiang's fiancée. I'd like to ask, has my marriage application been mailed to you?" "Hello, Comrade Lisa Chu. Are you in a hurry?" "Don't worry. It should arrive within 3 days," Commissar Grant replied. "Commissar, when did you mail it?" I asked, my voice trembling as if my heart had climbed up into my throat. "We just sent the mail. The army base isn't far from your hometown." At most 3 days, he added. I swallowed hard and forced myself to ask, can it be retrieved now? Why would you want to withdraw it? The commissar asked, clearly puzzled. Commissar, something's come up here. I don't want to get married right now. Can you retrieve the marriage application? I said. Commissar Grant, who used to work as a counselor, responded with that officious tone that made my skin crawl. Comrade Lisa Chu, marriage is not a trifling matter. If you have difficulties, tell me and I'll try to help. I wanted to curse him for never answering my question directly, but I forced down my anger. Commissar Grant, I just want to know whether my application can be retrieved. If it can't, I'll apply for a divorce. My voice was steady and firm. Commissar Grant felt my resolve and grew annoyed. The mail has already been sent. It can't be retrieved. The mail was addressed to Jake's home. You can ask him for it. With that, he hung up in a huff. Tears sprang to my eyes as the line went dead. Lucas had heard the whole conversation. Don't be afraid. I have a way, he said, then picked up the phone and dialed another number. Uncle Jim, it's Lucas. There's a piece of mail. Could you intercept it for me? It's Jake Zhang's marriage application. His fiancée doesn't want to marry anymore and wants to withdraw the application, but Commissar Walker said it was just sent and can't be retrieved. They're having trouble here. If we can't stop it, she might go to the military district and make a scene to get a divorce. I think we should cancel it first and sort out the dispute later. That would be fairer to the woman. You can't force someone to marry. On the other end, there was a pause and then someone said, today's mail hasn't been sent yet. The mail carrier tie-in is still next to me. He hasn't taken it to Commissar Walker. I breathed out, furious that Commissar Grant had lied. I wanted to go and give him a piece of my mind. Lucas relayed everything he just heard from Commissar Grant to the person on the other end. Silence followed. Leave us a number and I'll call you back, the voice said. We left the post office number and waited anxiously. About 20 minutes later, the phone rang. Lucas picked it up. It was Commissar Walker on the line. He handed the receiver to me. Commissar Walker's apologetic voice came through. Comrade Lisa Chu, I'm truly sorry. Just now, I thought it better to preserve marriages than to break them apart. So, I tried to stop your withdrawal. I snapped back before he could finish. Commissar, you should understand. Your arrogance could ruin my life. My words made Commissar Walker's face flush red. He glanced at the senior officer beside him and, swallowing his pride, continued to apologize. In the end, Commissar Walker agreed to place my personal file and the marriage application in the custody of the division commander for safekeeping until I had time to come retrieve them myself. He promised he wouldn't give my documents to anyone else. And only then did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. Lucas, let me treat you to a meal at the state-owned restaurant, I said. Lucas seemed just as relieved as I was. We went to the restaurant and ordered braised pork and spicy shredded potatoes. After eating our fill, Lucas walked me to the entrance of the village before heading home. I still hadn't officially called off the engagement, so I couldn't let people see me spending too much time alone with Lucas. I pushed my bicycle toward home, and when I got close I saw Jake leaning against the gate of my house. The moment he saw me, he ran over. Lisa, what's going on? Why couldn't you wait a little longer? You left just before I came back. I don't want to marry you anymore, I said coldly. Tomorrow, my parents will send someone to your house to call off the engagement. What? Why are you being so petty? We're getting married tomorrow. I went to pick up my sister-in-law so she could come to the wedding banquet. Can't you understand that? My brother's gone and she's pregnant. I let out a bitter laugh. My second uncle died 2 years ago, and you said it was bad luck for my aunt to attend the wedding. Yet your brother's been dead only 2 months, and your sister-in-law can come to my wedding banquet. Don't you think that's even worse luck? How can you say that? Jake snapped. My brother was a soldier. He died a hero. How can you compare him to your uncle? Oh, really? So dying in service isn't still dying? I shot back. I'm done talking to you. Let me make this clear. I will not marry you. I didn't even bother exposing his lies. A heroic sacrifice? His brother had disobeyed orders during a mission. He was lucky only he got killed. With that, I pushed open the gate. Jake was furious. Remember this, Lisa Chu. You'll regret it. I sneered. Regret with a family like yours? Please. Hearing our voices, my father came out. Jake, he said sternly. Tomorrow we'll come to your house to officially break the engagement. We'll return every cent of the bride price. You'd better give back everything my daughter sent to your home. Be ready tonight. After Jake left, my parents and brother asked whether I was serious or just trying to scare him. I looked them straight in the eye and said firmly, even if I die, I will never marry him. Don't say such unlucky things, my mother scolded, then sighed in relief. Good, don't marry him. You've seen that whole family. They're practically falling apart. If you marry into that, you'll be miserable. I wrapped my arms around her shoulders and said softly, that's exactly why I want to call it off, Mom. I finally understand. Meanwhile, Jake went home and immediately quarreled with his parents, demanding to know why they hadn't stayed home to receive the dowry. Now look what's happened. All that brand new furniture was carried back. His parents were just as regretful. They had only wanted to give me a little lesson, never expecting me to be so stubborn this time. Jake's younger sister, Kathy, tried to comfort them. Don't worry, give it 2, maybe 3 days, she'll come back on her own. She's done this kind of thing before. What's there to worry about? But Jake's mother sighed. The wedding banquet's tomorrow. What do we do now? Jake's father grumbled. If he doesn't have a wedding banquet, that's his problem. Why should we care? Saves us money anyway. Anna, looking innocent and guilty, murmured. It's all my fault. If I hadn't asked Jake to pick me up, none of this would have happened. I wouldn't have made his fiancée angry. The next day, my mother and I went with the matchmaker to Jake's house to officially call off the engagement. When we entered the courtyard, it was full of the same relatives and friends who had come earlier to help prepare for the wedding. At first, Jake's family refused to agree. Lisa, Jake said, our marriage application has already been approved. We're already husband and wife. Don't be so unreasonable. I looked him straight in the eye. Jake, I may have grown up in the countryside, but I'm not illiterate. That application was just the Army's preliminary review of our marriage eligibility. Without a marriage certificate, we were not legally husband and wife. Jake clenched his jaw, trying to turn things around. Fine. You really mean it, huh? All right. I agree, but don't regret it later. He handed back the watch I'd bought him and the silver bracelet I bought for his mother. As for his sister-in-law, Anna, she was still wearing the dress I had given her. Jake took $16 from his pocket, saying that was all he could return for the rest. In front of the matchmaker and the crowd of onlookers, our engagement was officially annulled. After we left, Jake immediately ran to the village office to use the phone, hoping to ask the commissar whether the marriage application had been mailed out. When he learned that I had already called the army, and that the division commander had held back the paperwork, he finally realized I was serious this time. From that day on, he came to my house almost every day to apologize and beg me to take him back. Every time he showed up, my father would chase him out with a broom. A few days later, Lucas told me their unit would be returning to the army base in 3 days. I decided to go with them because I wanted to retrieve my personal file. I didn't feel safe leaving it at the base. If Jake somehow got his hands on it, all my efforts would be for nothing. Lucas suggested I travel with him. It'll be easier by car, he said. It's not safe for you to go alone. I agreed. Since the division commander was his uncle, it would be simplest and safest to get my documents back through him. This time, just like in my previous life, Jake planned to take his widowed sister-in-law, Anna, with him to the army base. In truth, Jake didn't have the qualifications to accompany the troops. But Anna was registered under the military district. They'd already approved housing for her inside the base. Lucas flatly refused when Jake asked to take Anna along in their car. Jake, he said, you should take the train with your sister-in-law. The roads are rough and she's pregnant. I'm not taking that risk. Jake knew I was also going back to the base, and he clearly wanted to use the trip to win me over again. But Lucas gave him no chance. He refused, no matter how much Jake pleaded. Anna, whom I still couldn't stand to even look at, was from the same village as Jake's grandmother and had known him since childhood. Jake's late brother had been a company commander, and Anna had followed him as a military spouse. She was talkative and good at playing the victim. Lisa, I'm sorry, she said tearfully. It's my fault. If it weren't for me, you two would have been married long ago. Her eyes glistened with tears, and her frail figure swayed pitifully. I looked straight at her. Miss Anna, please don't call me Lisa. We're not that familiar. And thank you. Actually, if not for you, I would have fallen into a pit I could never climb out of. Anna staggered, visibly shaken by my words, and Jake rushed to steady her. He continued calmly. But I can understand your thinking. After all, Jake is your child's uncle. He'd surely treat the baby kindly. You're used to living in the army, and with a child, it's hard to find another man, especially one in uniform. Jake must seem like the perfect choice. Anna's face drained of color. I had hit the truth. She didn't dare speak aloud. She hadn't really meant to destroy our marriage. She just wanted a free nanny, someone to serve her during confinement and help raise her child. Clutching her belly, Anna burst into tears and ran off, with Jake hurrying after her. He glared at me, full of anger. Lisa Chu, you have such a poisonous heart. What did my sister-in-law ever do to you? How can you think of her like that? Just because she didn't agree to be your servant. You're taking revenge. I let out a cold laugh and took a deep breath. Jake patted Anna's shoulder, turned to me and said in a low voice, Lisa, I know no one was home that day when you came with the dowry. That was our family's fault. But she's my sister-in-law. My family. You're my fiancé. Can't you stand by me and face my troubles together? My brother died in service. Taking care of your sister-in-law is your responsibility, I said coldly. It has nothing to do with me. Without waiting for his reply, I turned and got into the car. Lucas started the engine and drove off, leaving Jake standing there in a cloud of dust. The drive to the army base normally took about 3 hours, but it took us over 6. Lucas stopped along the way several times, buying snacks, drinks, and even a few small treats from roadside stalls. He joked easily, keeping the atmosphere light, and for the first time in both my lives I actually felt happy. When we finally arrived, Lucas parked the car by the main gate of the base. I looked at him puzzled. Why aren't you driving in? He took a deep breath. Lisa, I have something I've wanted to tell you for a long time. I blinked in surprise. Back in high school I already liked you, he said, his tone sincere and a little nervous. But you were already seeing Jake then. A few days ago when I heard you broke off the engagement, I was honestly kind of happy. I was wondering if you'd give me a chance. My heart started pounding so loudly I thought he might hear it. My face grew hot. No one had ever confessed to me like that before. I lowered my head, not saying a word. He thought I was shy, but in truth I was weighing my options. I had dated Jake for more than 4 years. Everyone in the village knew I was supposed to marry him. Breaking off the engagement had already damaged my reputation. In my previous life I had known Lucas was a good man, reliable, straightforward, and with a clean record. The only thing I wasn't sure of was whether he'd let me live on the base with him. I didn't want to end up like before, stuck in the countryside serving my in-laws and taking care of my husband's siblings. Seeing that I stayed quiet, Lucas grew a bit anxious. You don't need to answer right away, he said gently. You can think about it. I raised my head and met his eyes. If I marry you, I asked seriously, will you make me stay in the countryside to take care of your parents? His eyes brightened. Clearly he saw hope. No, my older brother's the village secretary now. He'll look after our parents. My younger sister's a military doctor on base, and I just got promoted. I'm the regiment commander. My wife would be allowed to live on base. My eyes widened. You're a regiment commander? Then if I marry you, I'd be the commander's wife. Lucas smiled. That's right. And don't worry, I won't stop at regiment commander. The higher I go, the higher your position as Mrs. Zhu will rise. I laughed softly. For the first time in a long while, I felt certain of what I wanted. All right, I said. I agree. Maybe I was being impulsive, but after 2 lifetimes I knew exactly what I was doing. Lucas's smile widened as he drove into the compound and stopped outside the division commander's house. Come on, he said. I'll introduce you to my uncle. He knocked on the door. A young guard opened it and let us in. When we stepped into the living room, my heart froze. Sitting inside were Jake and Anna. The moment Jake saw me, he rushed forward. Lisa, tell the commander it was all a misunderstanding. Take back our marriage application. I stepped aside to avoid his reaching hand and faced the division commander politely. Sir, hello. My name is Lisa Chu. I'm sorry for the trouble, but I came to retrieve my marriage application. Lucas gave a subtle signal to the guard, who disappeared into the study and returned with a file folder. He handed it to me. I opened it, pulled out the marriage application, and before anyone could react, tore it clean in half. Jake's face turned red. Lisa Chu, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Have I spoiled you too much lately? Anna's face went pale as she hurried forward. Lisa, please. We've been apologizing to you this whole time. What more do you want from us? I looked at her hysteria, her fake tears, and asked coldly, what are you really afraid of, Anna? That no one will take care of you after childbirth, or that no one will help raise your kid? Before they could answer, I handed my personal file to Lucas. He took it and passed it to the division commander. Sir, he said clearly, I'd like to apply to marry Comrade Lisa Chu. The commander's jaw dropped. Even Lucas's uncle was taken aback. Sir, I said calmly, I'm not taking back my file. It's already been reviewed. My background is clean, and now I want to file a new application to marry Comrade Lucas Chu. Jake immediately protested, his voice shaking with anger. No, absolutely not. We're comrades. How could you do this to me, Lucas? Lucas turned to face him, expression calm and resolute. Yes, Jake, we're comrades, but that doesn't mean I can't pursue Comrade Lisa Chu. It happened after we broke off the engagement, I said calmly. Jake had no response. He stood there speechless, his face pale with anger and disbelief. I glanced at Commander Chu, Lucas's uncle, worried that he might think I was fickle or unprincipled. But to my surprise, there was a faint smile on his face. Seeing that, Jake's expression darkened even more. He glared at us before grabbing Anna and storming out of the house. That evening, Lucas and I stayed for dinner at the commander's home. Later, he dropped me off at the guest house inside the base. Within 3 days, our marriage application was officially approved. We registered our marriage immediately. Lucas also applied for wedding leave, and the army assigned us a 2-bedroom house with a small courtyard, a charming little villa left vacant by the previous regiment commander. After a bit of tidying up, we could move right in. Lucas bought new furniture for the house and even arranged a small wedding ceremony for me on base. On our wedding day, he handed me a bank book. When I opened it, I saw a balance of 2,000 yuan. I was stunned. Even Jake showed up at the wedding, drunk out of his mind. That night, beneath the soft glow of candles and laughter, Lucas made me feel a warmth and tenderness I had never known. Not in this life, nor in the one before. 3 days after the wedding, Lucas drove me back to my hometown. I hadn't told my parents about the marriage yet, afraid they might worry, so I wanted to tell them in person. But Jake, always spiteful, had already spread rumors throughout the village. By the time I arrived, my father and brother had packed their bags, ready to travel to the base to look for me. When they saw me come home healthy and radiant, my mother burst into tears of anger and relief. You troublesome girl, she cried. Mom, I said, holding her hand. I married Lucas Chu. You know the Chu family. Simple, respectable people. His brother's the village secretary. I've already been approved to live with him on base. It's done. My mother sighed deeply, but seeing my determination, finally accepted it. The next day, Lucas's whole family came to visit. They brought the traditional 3 items and 1 gift. A bicycle, a sewing machine, a watch, and 1,000 yuan in cash as the bride price. The entire village was in an uproar, everyone saying I was blessed and lucky to have broken off my engagement with the Zhongs. After spending 3 days at home, I returned to the base with Lucas. 2 months later, I found out I was pregnant. Jake eventually remarried too to Anna's cousin Helen Shun. Since Jake still didn't have the qualifications to live on base, Helen stayed behind in the countryside just like Anna had in my previous life, caring for his parents and younger siblings. That fall, during the harvest season, Lucas and I returned to my hometown. All his cousins came to help my family with the work. What usually took 20 days, we finished in just a week. My father was overjoyed. He kept comparing it to last year when, after finishing our own fields, he and my brother had to help the Xiong family with theirs. Now, with such hard-working in-laws, he couldn't have been happier with his son-in-law. The day after our harvest ended, Jake's parents showed up at our door, acting as if nothing had happened. In-laws. Jake's father called cheerfully the moment he entered. My mother immediately stopped him. Mrs. Xiang, have you lost your memory? My daughter's in-laws are the Shu family. Jake's parents didn't even blush. Come on, Mrs. Chu, Jake's mother said shamelessly. You know our Jake's not home and his father's leg isn't good. There's no one to do the field work. Couldn't you help us out again like in previous years? This time my sister-in-law finally spoke up with pride. Mrs. Xiang, we helped your family before because my sister was engaged to your son, but now we have no ties left. What kind of daydream are you having in broad daylight? Jake's mother scowled. But the two of them were together for years. There's still feelings there. What's wrong with helping us one last time? I sneered. Didn't your son remarry? Doesn't your daughter-in-law have her own family? Maybe she can help you. Don't ever come to my house again. We're not acquaintances anymore. In the end, my mother chased them out with a broom. I stayed home for another week before returning to the base. Later, my mother told me the entire village had finished harvesting their crops except the Jings. They'd only managed to gather half their grain. Anna's older brother came to help, but after one day of work it rained. The next day there was frost, and their remaining crops froze in the field. I said quietly, then I guess it's only fair they got half. After all, if our family hadn't helped them in the past, they wouldn't even have been able to plant half their fields that spring. My mother thought what I said made perfect sense. Time passed quickly, and a month later, Jake's widowed sister-in-law Anna went home to give birth. In my previous life, because she'd used my dowry money and the allowance I'd sent, she gave birth at the town hospital. The baby had the umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, and it was a very dangerous delivery. But in this life, the Xiang family didn't even have enough grain to eat. Jake's new wife's family favored sons over daughters. They wouldn't give Anna a single cent. Anna came from a big family herself with too many siblings. There was no way her parents would pay for her to deliver in a hospital. This time she hired a midwife from the village. After a full day and night of painful labor, she finally gave birth to a boy. In my previous life, the baby weighed 7 pounds and 2 ounces. This time he weighed only 5 pounds and 9 ounces. When I heard the news, I just smiled faintly. Of course he was smaller. She wasn't eating nearly as well as before. Last time she'd been living off my money and my nutrition supplements. I later heard that the baby was born with the cord around his neck, causing oxygen deprivation. His whole body was bruised and blue. The baby was weak, and Anna had to stay home to recover while taking care of her cousin Helen Shun, the same cousin who'd been forced into marriage with Jake. It turned out that Anna's selfishness had ruined her own cousin's life. Helen had once been engaged to a childhood sweetheart. But when Anna wanted someone to take care of her during her postpartum confinement, the Xiangs offered Helen's family 50 extra yuan in bride price to force her into marrying Jake. Helen hated Anna from the start. She refused to help her during her recovery. No matter how much Jake's parents scolded her, Helen stayed silent. But she didn't cook, clean, or lift a finger for Anna either. In the middle of winter, Anna had to wash the baby's diapers herself. Just like in my previous life, Jake's mother insisted that using hot water would cause the baby to get rashes. So, Anna could only wash everything in freezing cold water during her confinement. Jake's mother's eyesight was failing, and she could barely do any housework. His father's leg was getting worse, and he could hardly move around. Helen only did the chores she felt like doing. And Jake's younger sister Kathy remained as lazy as ever. As for Jake's youngest brother, in my last life I had helped tutor him every day, making sure he did his homework and studied hard. He had even gotten decent grades because of me. But this time no one cared. He skipped classes all the time and his studies completely fell apart. Before long, spring plowing came again. The Jiang's fields were in even worse shape than during the fall harvest. Anna was forced to carry her baby on her back while working in the fields. Helen had to help too, but she slacked off whenever she could. One day, my mother received a phone call from the army. She thought it was from me, but it was from Jake. He was begging my parents to help his mother and father with the fieldwork. My mother's voice turned cold. Jake, our family doesn't owe you anything, so don't ever call here again. Then she hung up. That spring I was heavily pregnant, So Lucas didn't take me back to the countryside. Instead, he asked his mother to rent a tractor for my family along with a full set of plowing equipment. In just 3 days, all of our land was plowed and ready for planting. My sister-in-law praised me endlessly for marrying into such a good family. Everyone in the village said the same, that my mother had found me a wonderful husband and son-in-law. Meanwhile, Jake's life was a mess. Most of his money went back home to buy milk powder for his nephew because Anna couldn't breastfeed. Helen, furious that she never got to keep any money, started quarreling with him constantly. Jake was exhausted, barely holding his life together. His younger sister had finally married the man she'd chosen herself, a far cry from the good match I'd arranged for her in my previous life. Overwhelmed by family troubles, Jake began making mistakes in his military duties. One of his errors led to serious consequences, and the army dismissed him, stripping him of his post before he was even reassigned. In an instant, he went from soldier to farmer. That same year I gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. Since I didn't have to spend much time around my in-laws, I did my postpartum recovery at my parents' home, not wanting to inconvenience my sister-in-law. Lucas bought a gold locket for our nephew and treated my family with deep respect. My sister-in-law, so different from Anna in every way, was kind and caring. 3 months after I gave birth, Helen had her baby too. She was lucky it was a boy. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, a year had gone by. I took my children with me to live on base. Lucas worried that caring for 2 babies would be too tiring for me. Lucas arranged for my second aunt to receive a stipend so she could come live with me on base and help care for the twins. By then, Lucas had been promoted. He was now a brigade commander. As our children grew older, word began to spread in the village that Anna's son wasn't quite right. His mind was slow, his reactions dull. The villagers said it was likely due to the oxygen deprivation during his difficult birth. Many years later, I took my son and daughter back to visit my hometown. My family had built a lovely 2-story house by then, bright and modern, surrounded by fruit trees and laughter. Not far away though, the old mud brick house of the Jangs still stood, crumbling and weathered by time. I heard that Jake had fallen into the river one day while catching fish. When they pulled him out, he started raving incoherently, wandering around the village, muttering nonsense. No, Lisa Chu should have married me. I should have been promoted in the army. My nephew got into a top university. My brother's a college graduate. My sister's a successful businesswoman. Why did things turn out this way? Watching his crazed, broken figure stumbling along the riverbank, I couldn't help but smile.